he reminds me a little bit of Homer Simpson on some level,
Okay.
where things are just sort of obviously there, but he sees very close to him. He doesn't necessarily look far.
But I want to start off obviously with a huge congratulations. I was at the screening that you had in Toronto for the first episode, and just seeing and hearing the reactions of the entire crowd and getting to reunite with your cast is amazing. So, congratulations.
Thank you. You know, it's so great also to be able to, we work in a vacuum often, and it's so great to be able to hear the audience and their gasps or their laughter. It's so great to be in the room with the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the audience loved you and your mention of croissants. So I'm glad we're seeing more of your character this season since he has become a fan favorite. Is that kind of shocking to you?
I have noticed this. I think I'm in a privileged position because it's a drama and I happen to be kind of a bit of the comic relief. Alan, when he gets going, is way funnier than I ever could be. But his character is more the straight man, obviously, and he's carrying the plot and he's carrying the most of the story. But it's a privileged position to be able to come in once in a while with your croissant and crack a joke or something. But yeah,
Yes. Yeah, and I love that season two, from what we've seen so far, it gives us more pieces of your character without fully spelling him out for us as the viewers. So I'm wondering, for you as an actor, do you prefer having everything about your character clearly mapped out as opposed to just kind of going with the flow?
I love the ambiguity. I think some of this starts also from this sort of dance between the writer and the actor,
Hmm.
where, especially in the second season, we're seeing the writers write a lot more. It's more nuanced for each character, and then we're picking up on that and throwing the ball back in their court. So there's this great kind of symbiotic relationship that happens. But for sure, with Renouf, what I love about him is he's constantly surprising me, and it's such a joy to play that. Especially this season where we've dug a little more into his backstory, his past, especially episode 208, without saying too much. But he really we discover more about his loyalty to the community, how much he knows about Saint-Pierre and its superstitions and its mysteries and all that kind of stuff. And also that he has a bit of a darker side. He isn't just sort of that, funny guy with the croissant. There's a lot more depth to him. And I could say that also, I mean, just outside of Renouf, I think for a lot of the other characters too, what's great is in season two, we're seeing a lot more of Patty. We're seeing a
Hmm.
lot more of Natasha, the Undertaker, corner, not Undertaker. So on that level, it's great because the world is getting fleshed out a bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the chemistry that this whole team has together. So is there a moment, I know you said you kind of banter back and forth, but was there anything that wasn't planned or put in the script that made the final cut that you're really happy with?
Well, of course, I haven't seen a lot of the episodes, right? I've only seen like the first two, so I don't really know everything that's been kept or cut.
Fair
But
enough.
there's been so many moments. What's great also is, working with someone like Alan, who's the showrunner and the
Mhm.
lead, there's a real shortcut there because instead of going to Video Village or having to ask permission to try different things, he's right there. It's like, go, try this, change the line, whatever. So it offers a real dexterity. Yeah, and there's been a couple times where I've just, yeah, I think my job also as an actor is to push a bit for what I want, and
Hmm.
they're there to kind of pull me back in bits, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes I go a bit too far. Um, the analogy being, I think it was the first season, I had a cream cheese like bagel that I was eating, and I'm supposed to say there was a bit left on the mustache, and I put way too much on the mustache. And the director, John Vatcher, came up and was like, it's not that kind of show. So it's like we had to bring the cream cheese down. You have to like, it's a dial, you have to dial it in, right?
Yeah.
So definitely for moments like that, yeah, it's good to have Alan on deck.
Of course. Yeah. Alan and Josephine are both fantastic in this show. So the fact that you're all so close and able to throw those ideas back and forth so easily really shows that it's one of those shows that everybody is connected.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
But your character, Renauf, he's very aware of when he wants to speak, I find, versus staying silent and kind of in the background. So this season, were there moments where not reacting kind of felt more important for you than your character reacting?
I think he's always playing a bit of a dance in between professional and personal. And
Mm,
being on such a small island, the stories are all around you. And it's like you can try and keep things professional, but really a lot of the personal leaks into it. There is a moment where I speak too much, like I say something that's kind of slightly incriminating to me during the show. So it's interesting you asked that because yeah, I do feel during certain scenes, especially the darker ones, where I think also Renouf has quite a how can you say like a lot of loyalty to the island and the people there. And there's things that really affect him. So he does keep quiet in some of the more dramatic parts, you know,
mhm.
where he's really taking it in and understanding the repercussions and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we saw that a lot in episode one, even for trying to figure out this serial killer. It shows how, since it is such a small town, everybody held on to who they thought the killer was versus who it actually was. And speaking up doesn't always change that if people are set on their ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I love
Exactly.
that you say that and you have that perspective of maybe he says too much at times.
Yeah, exactly. Because he does know a lot about the superstitions, the gossip, the like
Mm,
he knows a lot about that stuff. But also I think the it's surprising how you thought you knew people, you know, especially this season. There's a lot of those twists that are very exciting, I think, for the audience, you know. Yeah.
definitely. With there being so many like twists and turns, especially with characters, has Renault taught you anything about yourself that you brought into your everyday life? And have you brought something to his everyday life?
Wow. Well, certainly there's a side of me that really likes croissants and likes eating, you know, pastries. So there's that. But the inverse, I think there's something about Renouf's uh, sort of innocence on some level. This is why I think he's sort of a funny character because he reminds me a little bit of Homer Simpson on some level, you
Okay.
know, where things are just sort of obviously there, but he sees very close to him. He doesn't necessarily look far. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that there's this sort of nice innocence and a bit of a vulnerability in him that I see in myself day to day, you know? Um, yeah, and I think in general, it's just a lovely character to be able to play because he has such a heart of gold, you know?
that's true.
Yeah.
I know nothing's been said yet about a possible season three, so I'm wondering for you, if we're being hypothetical, if season one kind of introduced your character, season two is obviously putting him under this microscope. What do you hope for him for season three?
What do I hope for him for season three? Um, well, Renouf in season two has now become very loyal to his team
Mm,
and he wants to do better. He doesn't always do better, but he wants to at least.
it's the
And,
thought
you
that
know,
counts.
yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping, I guess, for him to be a lot more active on that level and really help the team out. Hopefully, like as an actor, I love doing sort of more action scenes, you know,
Okay.
and maybe he falls in love. I don't know.
That would be nice to see, but I mean, we're hoping for more stunt work apparently.
Well, I mean, stunt is a big word. I'm not a stunt person, obviously. But, you know, sort of things like getting out of cars really quickly and running and jumping on things, and you know, nothing too crazy. But I just love the action side of things. You know, it's fun.
Fair enough. I'll manifest that for a future season because I'd love to see that as well as a romantic relationship.
Mhm.
But my last question for you, I personally love thinking about characters and how to describe them with music because to me, score can either make or break a series or a film. So I'm wondering for you, what's the song you would use to describe him this season?
This season, my goodness, that's a good one. Because his normal soundtrack, and this is something that Josephine we regularly do on set. When
Hmm.
you watch Renouf walk, it's sort of like rum bum 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 bum. There's this kind of vibe there. So that's sort of his track normally. For this season, though, it gets a bit darker. So, geez, do you know do you know a songwriter called Paolo Conte?
I don't.
I think he's from Italy or Portugal. I'm not sure, but he's got this very great, how could you call it? Like guitar, but really dark and mysterious kind of sound. So I
Okay.
would say that.
I like that. I know when I asked Josephine, she was like, I can't tell you because it's like it's one that she keeps going back to. So it's interesting to see all the different answers that you guys have.
You know what is amazing though is when they pair the music, we shoot the scenes and you feel the vibe in the scene, and then
Mhm.
you see how they put it together and they add the music onto it. And I mean, yeah, it's just incredible sometimes how you watch it, you didn't realize what you were making, and it's only at the end product you're going, wow.
Yeah, it
You
really
get some
takes a
movement.
village to make that whole
It
creation.
it really does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on everything again, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.